morning, everyone. This is the car show hosted by Celebrity Cars. Today, Jim brought this daily driver, this beautiful, beautiful classic car. Let's talk about where you originally found the car first.
I found it in Minnesota.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was in a little dirt car lot, and we drove by it. It was covered in snow. And I told my wife, I said, there's a Covair there. And she went, a what? I said, oh, well, so we drove by it a few times, and we were buying a house in Minnesota up there because we have family up there. And so finally the snow melted enough to where we could stop by and see it. And so we stopped in, and it was pretty clean. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty clean. So I contacted the seller, and we trucked it back here, and it needed a little work, so a friend of mine and I rebuilt it, and now it's kind of the way it is.
What kind of work did you put in?
Well, we had to change the motor. We went from a little 80 horsepower motor to a 140 in it, and then we put new transmission, new everything. Brakes are new, tires are new. Everything from ground up has pretty much been redone and makes it a driver. It's not perfect body-wise, but we just wanted to make it a driver, so.
This type of the car, we don't see it at the car show in Easton so often, and I don't really see it on the road either. And you drive this every day?
Pretty much every day, unless it's really, really bad weather. The heaters are not known to be the best heaters, so I don't drive it when it's really cold. But unless it's anywhere between 100 degrees and 30 degrees, I can drive it. So, and it has an automatic. It's easy to drive. Put the windows down, and it's kind of fun.
But why did you pick this particular car?
You know, I've always liked Corvairs. I never had one. It's my first one that I own, but I always wanted to have one, and just my wife said, oh, that's kind of cool. So when she liked it, it got her seal of approval. That was the ticket there. So.
So right here, we are standing right in front of oil tank right here, suspecting the engine might not be under the hood. What's right here?
The engine's in the back on this one. It's this is actually a interesting vehicle for Chevrolet. I'll open up the hood. You guys can. All that's in the hood here.
Oh.
Is junk. No motor. Just the car cover and some other things. The motor on this is in the back. It's a 6-cylinder, air-cooled, horizontally opposed motor. Let's go to the back.
Wow.
So they have, this is the 140. It has 4 carburetors. It's naturally aspirated. There's no turbocharger on this one. They came with a turbocharger. It was a 180, so it had a little more horsepower than this, but I wanted to go all motor. We converted it from a generator to an alternator, and we added the distributor on here is a aftermarket electronic distributor instead of having points on it. Yeah, of course, meanwhile, last time I was out, the points died on it, or no, the electronic part of the distributor died, and I had to replace that. So it left me stranded once, but not too bad. But this is where the motor is. The transmission's up in here, and it's was a completely different design from Chevrolet's point of view. They were going into it to kind of compete with the Falcon and the Volkswagen, of course, but it didn't. Ralph Nader kind of put his little pitch on it and kind of messed up the whole idea. So they didn't last too long.
This particular car, is it easy to find parts?
That's the good news. There's a whole lot of people that have Corvairs now, and there were a lot that were built. So there's a lot of them. All the parts are either new old stock, or you can get restoration parts, or so everything's available. Most of this is on here is original, but there are some parts that are restoration. This part here is a resto piece. These are original caps that are on here, but there's a few things that are resto, but almost everything's original. The interior is still the 50-year-old interior.
Ooh, nice. Well, I'm looking at the wheel, and it has something unique about it. Something
the little
different.
Brody knob.
Yeah.
I'll show you that. This here, because they didn't have power steering. So This little thing here would be so you could use it to turn a lot easier than having power steering. So it makes it a lot. I don't use it very often. I put it there for show.
Does it have any other nickname?
I'm sorry. The what?
That little ball?
Oh no, it's just mostly for looks. It works, it operates, but it's mostly for looks. I did put an aftermarket stereo in it. I'll fire that little. It has Bluetooth and a subwoofer and.
Nice. Wow. Beautiful.
That's probably why I drive it most, because the stereo. This is on the dash, and they didn't have park. They only have just reverse, neutral, and then driving low. And then you had to pull the parking brake on it to keep it in place.
Did you have to do research to learn how to take care of this car?
The good news with this car is it's air cooled, so there's no radiator, there's no fluids to worry about except for just the transmission has the transmission fluid and the oil in it. Other than that, it's almost maintenance free, being air cooled, and going with the aftermarket distributor. It just doesn't need any. I just drive it, put gas in it, and drive it. It does need to have the oil changed quite a bit, and it does need when you go get gas, and every time you have to check the oil because it burns oil. Because they run around 300 degrees, so they need a little bit of maintenance there. But other than that, no.
Wow, I love seeing this beautiful car runs every day, and someone like you has so much passion and care about the car, and it's just. I feel like the car is smiling at us. It seems so happy.
Me too. I have the same feeling, and it gives people the same feeling when you go down the road. You get that smile and that thumbs up from people. It's always exciting to have that, go on when you're out for a drive or going to work. Or yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing your car today.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
Thank you.